Hey y'all, it's Steve, Hobo with Wood, and in this video, I'm going to try and make this as short and as concise as possible, but we're going to design this from scratch. So what is this? This is a napkin holder. It's designed really to use outdoors, picnics, out on your patio. You can use it on the kitchen table if you like. But this little slides up and down, it's weighted, and it's got a little bead in there, so it allows your napkins to roll in and out of there without doing any tearing or grabbing of your napkins. And you just lift that up to put the napkin to load your napkins. Put that away and then set this out of the way and show you some photos. That one I had personalized with, Hobo with Wood, custom woodwork, custom projects. But let's take a look at some photographs. Okay, so here we have a profile here showing it from the side you load it. You can see here, this is a 1-inch bead that I have a dowel running through. And this is the piece that I have up here for personalization. Sitting on three levels of a base there. And that's mainly just to help add weight to it. This is made out of 3mm Baltic birch. If you made it out of 1/4-inch ply, you wouldn't need to make 3 layers on the base. This design is completely scalable, but that's from that profile. Now let's take a look. There's from up top. This is completely customizable, obviously, from the profile. And here I've got this back piece is more or less like a washer, but the dowel slides through this piece here, and then this piece is glued to that washer and the dowel. This is just to give it a nice finished look. There's a profile and a up close of the bottom there and how that works. So let's jump into Lightburn. Alright, this is a pretty basic design. And let's open up the basic design here. There's not a lot to this. Let's move this over here off the tool bed so we can see it better. The bottom 3 pieces here are the base, and I've got it set up so that this piece will snap into the top and the second layer, so that it gives it some extra strength and extra rigidity. Is that a word? I think it's a word. But 3 layers for the base, 2 sides. This is the piece that these 2 snap into, glued up. Dowel rod's going to slide through here. These are the 2 washers to go on the end of the dowel rod, the 2 cap pieces. And when you slide your dowel through this piece, before you slide it through here, you put that 1-inch bead on there. And this is configured so that the 1-inch bead will extend. If I come here and draw us a 1-inch circle, a 1 inch, and I tell it to go to the center of that. You can see that 1-inch bead, that piece there, is going to stick out further than this piece, and it'll just allow those napkins to roll on that bead and slide out of the napkin holder. Pretty slick idea, I think. Like I said, and these are just for a good finish look, and another place to put a little personalization. You can put your own logos on there, make it a monogram, make it non-personal. Just put a nice design on there. It doesn't not have to be a circle. You can make that shape any shape you would like. But let's take a look at how quick this was to design. Alright, these bottom pieces, those are simple. You want to take most of your napkins that I found in the store are around 6.5 to 6.7 inches square. So what I did was draw a square, and I would tell it it was 6.7 on average. So I just said a 7-inch square. That's how big that needs to be for the napkin, and maybe a little extra slop around it. And I would then come on out, offset that 1/4 inch. Yeah, let's see what that does. All right, deleted the first one. Now this is 7.5 inches. That's the first layer. I'm going to use a actually, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and while I'm doing this, go ahead and do my radiuses, and let's do 1/4 inch radius here, 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 and here. Now I'll select the offset, and I'll do 1/4 inch. Sounds good. We're going to do round, outward. We do not want to delete the original, but we want to select the resulting object and go right back in and do another immediate offset. Done. There's the 3 layers. And we're just going to leave those grouped just like they are for right now. Set those over here out of the way. Now I need to design my side piece. So this square, the one in the middle, was 7 inches, wasn't it? Yeah, 7.5 inches. So let's do 7 inches. So we're going to come back here. First thing I'm going to do is draw a rectangle. I'm going to tell it to be 7 inches wide. And there's no rhyme or reason here. We're just going to say 1.5 inches tall. All right, and then this height, what is this I've got on here now? 6.5. Let's do, in fact, I didn't even make that one that long. This one, I redesigned it a little bit because this was a little bit tight. So this new design is a little larger. But let's do about the same height though. What was that? 6.5. So let's draw another rectangle. And we're going to do 6.5 tall. Height 6.5. And let's start at 2 inches wide. Now let's select those both. Align the bottom and line to the center. Bring that down here on the table. All right, now I don't think I did that right. 6.5 tall. That's not 6.5 tall. That's what it says though. 6.5. Let's just make that 6 inches. And now someone asked me, using the anchor points up here, why would you ever want to use something besides the middle? And here we go on a tangent, but this is why. You see, I had just previously aligned those to bottom and center, but when I changed my height and with that dot in the middle, it drew it up. It's no longer at the center. So if I go undo, see they're realigned again, and I select this. I want to change that height to 6, but I want to keep it aligned at the bottom. I'll select that bottom anchor point and now tell it 6. And all it done was shrunk the top. It did not change my alignment. I'll put that back in the middle for now. Now let's take and let's weld these together. All right. And now let's do a radius, and let's do 0.6 there, and there, and here. Instead of a radius, actually, you know what? We're going to come over here and do a 0.6 there and there. But in here, I'm going to node edit, and I'm going to hover over that one, and I'm going to hit the letter S. And hit the letter S. Now we're starting to get something similar to like I had over here. Now let's do the dowels that I'm using are 0.3 inches in diameter. So I'm going to draw a rectangle, and we're going to tell it to do 0.4 inches wide. 0.4 inches. I'm going to come down here and put it about where I want her. Probably about like that. Again, this is all just designing by eyeball what looks good. Make sure that that is in the center. And I'm going to say A, subtract B. And that's this right here. And there's that. Now let's draw a couple of tabs that I can put in my base and use this to attach to. I'm using 3mm nominal thickness Baltic birch, which is about 2.8 on average. So I'm going to draw, and I want to go through 2 layers. So I'm going to draw a rectangle. And let's go back to millimeters. And the height, I said 2.8 is the nominal thickness times 2. That's 5.6, and I really only want about 85% of that. That way, I'm now 4.76 millimeters. It's going to go through one and part of the next, but not come close to bottom and out of the next, the second layer. And the width is going to be whatever looks good here. That's at 65 now. Let's do let's just do 50. Yeah. All right, and we're going to say Control D, duplicate that, move it over here, select that, move it over here. Now, how wide was this? This was 7 inches, is that right? Yep, 7 inches. So, easy way to do this. I'm going to put that piece in there. This is just going to be a tool for right now. I won't. Actually, you know what? I can use my grid. Let's do this. I've got my snap to grid turned on, so right now that is snapping to grid, and those are just under 10, or right at 10 millimeters spacing, give or take. Now I can grab this one and come up here and put it at 20 millimeters, give or take, inward. That's coming close to that. Doesn't really matter if this is centered or not, but I do want to make sure that I know that they are equal space. Just there's 5, 10, 15, 20, 20. That'll work. Let's select both of those, align those together. They're now at the same height. Now let's do a Control D. I did not end up using that. Get rid of that. Take this and say Control D. Duplicate that. Well, I did not get both. Go back, undo. So there, and Shift. Now Control D. Now I've got both of them. I'm going to group that and bring it down here. Those are now grouped and in the proper proximity to each other. Go ahead and group both of these, and I'm going to bump that up just a bit. Actually, sometimes it works. You select those, and we're going to dock them up. There we go, and that should be docked right against each other, and you should be able to just select them both and say weld, and that time it did work. Sometimes it works exactly the way you want it to, and sometimes one of them slightly lower than the other and they won't completely weld, but that worked. So there is one completed piece for a side piece. Here we'd hit Control D and use the less than feature to rotate it twice counterclockwise, and I could nest those together like that. These two pieces here are going to be used in this up here. So let's bring that to center. Well, not center the page. Undo that. I meant to hit target. Bullseye. There we go. Now, I did these with 1/4 inch spacing. Now, you may not want to do a full 1/4 inch right here because this can, if it's left indoors on your kitchen table or on a counter, that can just be a ledge for collecting dust. So you may not want to do a full 1/4 inch, but I'm going to do 1/4 in this design, and to keep that same 1/4 inch space and that profile, that step down, I'm going to draw a rectangle, and I'm going to tell it to go 1/4 inch thick, 1/4 inch high, and let's just draw that out because it's just going to be a tool. I'm going to bring it down here. We're going to select that tool path. We're going to align it to the top. Now we'll select those. And docking does not work unless you're on the workbed. So let's just grab all this, bring it down here to the workbed. And now we can select that pair, tell it to dock upward, and now that's a 1/4 inch from the edge. So hit Control D. We're going to select the tool path, tell it now to align to the bottom, and we're going to select one of those new pair and dock it down. Now, I'm done with this. Now here's a trick. You select one pair, select the other pair, group those together, tell it to duplicate, Control D. Now when you've hit Control D, that new selection is what's selected, that new creation. Hold your Shift key, grab that first top layer, tell that to group, and now grab the center of that, slide it out of the way. Select those, select your next layer, tell that to group, slide that out of the way. Now because you created those in the same place, those are all going to line up perfectly. So now you've got the very bottom layer, your second layer, and the first or the top layer. We're awful close to being done here. Now for these other pieces, I went with, what did I do, a 3-inch circle? Yep, I just drew a 3-inch circle. You know how hard that is? That's extremely difficult. Hold your Shift key, draw out a circle. And you can tell it here 3 inches, and I don't have my aspect ratio locked, so I'll have to do it both times. Put that on a cut path. Wow, now that's done. I hope you may have to go back and watch that over a couple of times to get that figured out. These I think were 1 inch, no, 0.78, and those and the washers are the same size. So, and I based that off of my dowel rod was 0.3. So, and in fact, what I did actually was, there, I think there's the circle, but let's do 0.3. And I should lock my aspect ratio. There we go. Now that is the inner circle of the washer that's going to go over the dowel. Then I did an offset, 1/4 inch offset. Say okay. Group those together. Control D. I'm going to ungroup that for a second. Select that. Control D. Bring it down. Control D. Bring that over. Let's group those back together. So now we have 2 washers, the end caps, the top piece for personalization. And remember, you can do that top piece and these end caps. Now all we need is these pieces here. Now these were just a little bit more tricky, nothing crazy drastic. You just need a rectangle, I should say. Kept wanting to say square, but you got to keep in mind this is going to go underneath that circle. So you just draw your rectangle tool and then draw out a rectangle that's going to fit in there. And that's probably about as big as you want to go. You can make it a little bit bigger. The bigger you are, the easier it is to kind of get centered up, because you can feel those corners right there at the edge when you're gluing it up. So there's our rectangle. Now we need those pieces here. We'll design the slots in that rectangle after designing this. Now this piece, I'm going to hit, and I don't have those grouped. Let's group that back together. Actually, I'm just going to hit Control D. Tell that to go to the center of the page. Remember, our dowel was 0.30 inches, so that's what that circle should be, and 0.31 rather. And actually, I think the dowel was 0.3, and I went 0.31 just so I'm not having to force it into place. In fact, if I recall correctly, what I did do is hit Control D, duplicate this here, send that to the center of the workbed. It's just a little bit smaller. Keep in mind your bead, the round bead is going to be, you need to base the size of this off of the bead that you get. I got a 1-inch bead, picked them up at Hobby Lobby. So if I draw out a perfect circle, 1 inch in diameter, that can also help you to determine how big that piece needs to be. Because when you center that up like so, you want to make sure that this piece is not extending beyond the diameter of the bead diameter that you have. So, let's see here. Let's draw out a rectangle. Let's select that circle, center it up. Then let's look at this new tool. I've played with it a little bit. Warp selection points. Bring that into here. This is essentially node editing. Bring that into here. I need to ungroup that. Select those two, weld those together, and looky there. Now you'll need to make our tabs and our slots. Alright, for our tabs, we're just going to draw out a rectangle. Now this time it's only going to go through one layer, so we're going to do, and really, well, we'll tackle that in a minute here. But for now, we're going to do a height of 2.8 millimeters. I'm going to say Control D, duplicate that, bring it over here. And one thing I didn't do, which is not too late, you want to make sure that this piece is not any wider. And I just lost my circle there, so that's, go back to my undo, there we go. Group those together. And you see that's now not quite as wide as that rectangle. So I can do one of two things. I can reduce the size of the rectangle, or I can come back to this, ungroup that, go to node editing, and just grab, and actually before I do that, because I don't want to change the size, group, send that to the bottom, like so, ungroup, node editing, and now I can take that and drag that over here until I get to the corner, drag this one to the corner, and there you go. Regroup those. Grab a tab. And let's put this around in that corner. Let's see where that's going to put us. There. And no, that's not going to work that way. It's okay. We'll just do it like that for now. Select both of those. Group those. Select that. Tell it to center. That works. Now I can ungroup that again. Select those. Well, actually, before I do that, I got to hit Control D, duplicate those. Now with those duplicated, weld those together. And you see, there's what I was talking about a minute ago. They were docked up against each other, but that one didn't weld in. So undo. And since we're going to resize our tabs in a second anyway, I can just bump that up there to there. Grab them both. Weld that together. You can go ahead and do this. Say Tools, Resize Slots and Selection. We're going to change our tab height. I have no idea what that is right now, and it doesn't really matter. I'm just going to keep increasing the tolerance right here until, there we go. Once that turns blue, it's recognized them. So now that it's recognized them, the new material thickness, we're going to tell it to go 2.5 millimeters and say OK. And now you've seen those correct themselves to the new correct thickness. Alright, so now I'm going to take this and bring them up here, align it in the center and at the top. I don't want these right on the edge, so let's bring them down. In fact, we'll try to use the grid here as much as possible. Let's grab that corner and put it in the corner of my grid, like that. And then where does that put these? Nope. That's okay. What I'm looking for is just something that's going to give me some good strength here. The important thing is you got to remember you're going to put a 1-inch diameter bead in the middle here. So that's the one thing you could do. You could draw yourself out a 1-inch diameter circle. And you just make sure that when you place that, when you place your slots, that you're not too close that they're gonna rub on your bead. What did that move? That move everything? Nope, undo that. Come on now. Alright, let's do this and this. Align. Now let's group those. And now tell it to go to the center, like that. There we go. I think that works. So that is trash. We'll duplicate this, Control D. Forgot the little middle circle. Didn't have those grouped, so let's group it, Control D. Bring it over here. Get rid of this up here. So there's 3 layers of a base. That's it. That's everything. So that was really quick. Not hard to design at all. I will have this design available on hobowithwood.com. Hobowithwood.com. You can download this file. It will not be free. It will be for sale. Then I've also done another variation of this that might appeal to some of you big football fans out there. Let's go ahead and get rid of all this. Go bye-bye. I have this design available as well. Open, recent, football. This is a twist on that design. Instead of a nice little frilly curly Q thing on the side, it's half of a football. And what you can do with this, you can take your personal favorite. This is not mine. This is done for a family member. Let's add that to the project. What do we got here? They are a Dolphins fan. So I got the Miami Dolphins going on the center and a little dolphin going on the side. And you're asking, well, what's that square for? Well, this is actually an image. I'm going to be doing this one in grayscale. And when we look at that, you want to continue? Yes, I do. It's going to give a different type of engraving using grayscale. If you haven't played with images, that's something I'm just now getting my mind wrapped around. But that's going to give us a more unique look on that top piece than just a burnt engraving on the side. So that, not this one. This one, go bye-bye. This one will be available also on hobowithwood.com. So thank you for sticking around. I hope you found this informative. It's really simple. You've seen you can design your own, but if you don't want to go through all the hassle, jump over to my website, hobowithwood.com. Did I tell you that yet? Pick these things up for just a few bucks. Support a fella out. Help me keep this channel going. If you'd really like to support me, patreon.com/hobowithwood. Become a bronze, silver, or gold tier. But to take advantage of some free files similar to this, not this one, but free files every month, all month, you want to be at least a silver or a gold. I do design videos that the bronze tiers are going to see only, or only see the designing process. The silver and the gold will get free files. The silver gets at least one free file with the design, while the gold, if this was in fact, you know what? I'm probably going to make this a Patreon file. I'm going to make this a Patreon video. My patrons will see this whole design process just like you did on YouTube. But the silver members are going to get the base file for free, and the gold Patreons are going to get both files for free. So think about signing up. Help a brother out. I'm Steve, Hobo with Wood, and I'm out.